Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gritty Hour. Shawnee Boyce here. Sean, did you get a new computer, Sean?
I did not get a new computer, but I think I fixed this one for at least the time being. So
you tweaked it?
I tweaked it a little bit, played around with it. So hopefully in the next month or so we're good. I'm not really ready until like maybe May or June to go down that path. So we'll see.
Okay. Well, we have a special guest today, Shawnee boy. We have Steve from Black Glove Bricks, which is he's going to explain to us. It's about Legos, and Shawnee boy and I are both eager to learn more about it. And Steve's going to give us the whole down low on that. So, how you doing? Welcome to the Gritty Hour, Steve.
Oh, thank you. Happy to be here. And I guess that the first lesson. Let's start right there. There's no such thing as Legos. Lego is kind of like the word deer in the sense that the plural of Lego is also Lego. So just, off the bat, little.
Okay. Oh, so there's no S at the end of Lego?
No. When you see Lego, anybody who's using, that's why you always kind of got to be skeptical of somebody who calls it Legos, because you got to sort of doubt their credibility, because everybody, I think any real big, anybody who's been involved with the hobby for a while knows that the plural of Lego is indeed Lego.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Steve has a YouTube channel called Black Glove Bricks, where he describes his what the hell do I call it now? Not Legos.
Oh, just Lego. Just Lego is cool. Yeah, well, forget the S.
Lego, and I'm going to show you his page. But those of us who are watching us on YouTube, there'll be a link to his YouTube page right below on the show notes, and also for those listening to us on Google and Spotify and Apple can also look under the title of this podcast for the show notes, and there'll be a link to his YouTube channel there. So Steve, Sean and I both have a lot of questions because we don't know much about it. So the first thing
cool.
I did notice in trying to do a little due diligence for this podcast, a lot of people in this genre refer to Lego as bricks.
Yeah, that's bricks, elements, pieces. I guess if you want to, and again, a lot of this is going to sound very pretentious, but it's just for like the Uber fan. But yeah, like Lego is, I guess, technically, if you look at like Lego, the Lego Group's brand guidelines, the word Lego itself is actually only ever intended to be used as an adjective. So even if you want to refer to something you buy at the store, it is a Lego set. If you want to pick up a Lego brick, it's a Lego brick. So I guess technically, even just referring to it as Lego is incorrect, because according to their own internal documents, Lego is intended to only be used as an adjective. Yeah.
Okay. What's the verb for working with Lego?
I guess you would just say I'm building with Lego product, or I'm building with Lego bricks. But again, I mean, this is all semantics. It's just kind of silly more than anything. Anybody who says Legos or says I'm playing with Lego, I mean, you're kind of a goof if you slap them on the wrist. But if you really wanted to get down to the nitty gritty, that there is some people get really into the specifics of using the jargon correctly. And so I just figure while I'm here, I don't mean it to be like correcting you guys, but just if we're talking about it, let's, point out little tidbits there as we go.
Yeah, no, I know not too much about Lego besides, when I was a little kid, I'm sure I played with Lego before. That's about all I got.
Well, I'm just going to show
That's where it starts.
Yeah. I'm just going to show your webpage before I ask you the next question.
Thank you.
The first thing I bought my nephew, who's now 11, was a box of Lego, because it said it helped with motor skills when he was like one or 2 years old. And I was
sure.
Like yeah. So.
Oh yeah, it's been around for a time. I played with it when I was a kid, Shawnee.
Yeah. In fact, this year is going to be the 90th anniversary of Legos. The company started in 1932. So there's going to be a couple of sets coming out later this year that'll commemorate the 90th anniversary of the Lego Group. So that's kind of, it's definitely been around for a while.
Now I'm real curious. Could you call it adult Lego entertainment? And you have an 18 plus on your site, which those of us watching on YouTube can see. What makes adult Lego different from Lego?
Well, there's other than the obvious that it's okay, there's an adult involved in the, I'm an adult and I'm using it, so it's for adults. There's a very practical reason that I wanted to make it very clear that my site was intended for an adult audience, because are you guys familiar with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule?
No.
Okay.
YouTube, you mean? Or in general?
Well, it's being now strictly enforced on YouTube, but it was passed by US Congress and the FTC in 1998. Basically, it was set up back then to prevent websites from collecting data from kids the same way that YouTube collects it from us.
Mm-hmm.
So like in 2019, it sort of became a big deal again. And this big multi-million-dollar settlement was reached between Google and the FTC. And basically what Google and YouTube did was shift their responsibility for compliance to this act to YouTube creators instead of sort of taking the responsibility on themselves. So they basically made it very difficult for any content creator that was going to talk about anything that could be viewed as marketed towards children, whether that's action figures, video games, and in my case, Lego product. You could face serious penalties if you didn't make it very, very clear that your content was not being marketed towards kids. So that's why I kind of took a step in the opposite direction and went completely out of my way to make it very, very clear, or at least as clear as possible, that the content I was putting out was not being marketed towards children. Because if you are, it's going to be impossible down the road to monetize it in any way. So I wanted to be, in addition to wanting to actually make content that was for adult hobbyists of Lego, I wanted to be extra super clear that my stuff was not intended for children. So that's why you will see 18 plus, rated R, girls in bikinis. That's why I will drop the occasional F-bomb here and there in a video, just to not necessarily to be extra racy or show that I'm a provocateur, but to really make it clear that this stuff is not intended for children.
Yeah, I was going to ask Shawnee boy, can you see his YouTube page, Sean?
Yes, I see all the females in
Oh,
the Christmas outfits.
And be careful how you answer this next question, Steve, because Sean and I
Sure.
might just go and start hanging out with you in person. But
Yeah, you're welcome to.
you know all these models? Yeah.
No, not personally. I wish, but no.
Yeah. But it makes for a cool looking YouTube page, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's a little something different. I mean, I think a lot of times these sites that claim to be Lego for adults or adult Lego, the only thing that really makes them for adults is the fact that you've got some middle-aged guy presenting the content or appearing on screen. There's really nothing about what they're saying or doing or showing or discussing that really is keyed in on an adult demo for the hobby. So I really, not just in appearance and not just for laughs and shock value with these thumbnails and stuff, I really did want to create a channel that was having a conversation around the types of issues and concerns that face adult fans versus here's just my review of set number, blah, blah, blah. And that could be for a child the same as it's for an adult. So I really wanted the content itself, not just in an overt, shocking way, like I said, by having bikini models on there, but like in a real substantial way. Once you click on it, you're going to get some conversation and some content that, is geared towards the true, adult hobbyist versus something that's just, here's me building this set and fast forward.
Right. Well, let's get to the nitty gritty, so to speak.
Sure.
I'm going to play one of these videos and describe basically what you're doing is you get new Lego product in, you open it up and you describe what it is. I turn the sound down so you can speak over the video.
Sure. Well, like this one, for example, like at the top of the program where hopefully I wasn't being a jerk, but like when I informed you guys that there's no such thing as Legos, it's just Lego. This is like a type of video that I do called the brick glossary, where we take one of those sort of words, in this case, cheese slope. That's like kind of a Lego slang for this particular type of piece that you see here.
Yeah.
That's an angled piece like that. And I just sort of, in a humorous, goofy sort of way, go through and explain that that's what it's called. And, hey, maybe that's something that your average adult fan or an adult that's just getting into the hobby, they're not aware that that's what that piece is called. So if you're amongst mixed company, or if you're at a Lego convention, or you're on a Lego forum or a website and somebody's talking about cheese slopes, you might be scratching your head like, what are they talking about? Cheese slopes? What is a Lego cheese slope? So this is just one type of video that I do. Again, it's part of a playlist called the Brick Glossary, where I explain that, and I try to do it in a funny way. We also talk about cheese here. So it's just, again, it's I'm just trying to find fun and interesting ways to present stuff that's actually, somewhat informative, but also, doesn't insult your intelligence and treat you like you're a 5-year-old. Like, you can be a 45-year-old man and watch this and not feel like you just watched something that was made for a little kid, even though we're playing with toys. So, go figure the hypocrisy there.
No, it's cool. I like the idea, but basically in general though, you do just open up Lego product and describe it as it comes into your home.
No. It's a lot different. Like, there's a whole big section of these, because I did a big contest over Christmas. That's why there's a big chunk of videos right there towards the top where Lego puts out, as you can see on the screen here, these advent calendars where you open it up, and for 24 days, there's a little prize for each one. So what I did this past Christmas is I bought 2 of these advent calendars. I bought a Star Wars one and a Marvel Avengers one. And I did 2 videos a day throughout the month of December. So for the month of December, there was 48 videos where I would pull out the little thing and show what it was for each day. But then at the end, I gave everything away. It was like a contest. It was, if you watched and you left comments at the end of December, I picked 2 winners, and one guy got everything that was in the Star Wars calendar, and the other guy got everything that was in the Marvel calendar. So it was a way to just pump out a bunch of content for the month of December, encourage a lot of feedback, because choosing the winner was based on comments and views and clicks and things like that, likes. It was just a way, it was an experiment, because my channel is very young. When I started it, I went into it with this mentality of I had a 5-year plan. Like, I was not expecting to build an audience, make a dime, even have a decent amount of feedback for 5 years. So everything I'm doing right now is still kind of just throwing it at the wall and seeing what works. So I had this idea at the beginning of December to, hey, I'll invest back into the channel by buying 2 of these calendars. I'll open up the little gimmicks every day, and then at the end of the month, and I'll give it all away. And it was fun. It ended up getting a lot more engagement in the comments section than a typical video does.
Mhm.
And at the end of the month, I had 2 very happy viewers that ended up with, some nice product.
Yeah, cool. So I don't know if Sean, if you have a question, you can interrupt me, Sean, but I am curious about, because like I said, I did look at at least YouTube side of the Lego, and it's a huge market apparently.
Oh
Huge.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane. And it's funny too, because the Lego company only in the last 2 or 3 years has finally started to really actually acknowledge and embrace their adult fan base. For a lot of years, I think and rightfully so. I mean, I'm not silly about this. I understand it is a toy. It is, primarily meant for children, but when you're putting out a Millennium Falcon set that retails for $899, let's be honest here, who are you selling that to? Your 11-year-old nephew or somebody like me? So it is nice to see that they're actually finally starting to acknowledge their adult fan base. They actually have a line now that's considered for adults only, or I forget how they word it. But like, you go to these conventions and stuff. I travel to some different Lego shows throughout the year, and it's a huge adult fan base. And the problem is, and where I wanted my channel to be a little bit different is, I'm into other things too. A lot of these adults, I don't want to poke fun or be judgmental, but a lot of them are like so monolithic, where I'm an adult Lego guy, I'm an adult Lego guy, I'm an adult Lego guy. It's like, well, I travel to Green Bay for a Lego show. I want to attend the convention during the day, film the content, but I still want to go out at night. I got a life too. So I really tried to make this sort of a lifestyle destination website too. It's, again, as pretentious as that sounds, it's for the fan that isn't just completely 100% Lego obsessed.
Mhm. Yeah, well, like I said, it does seem like a vast audience that's into it, and they all identify as adult Lego. It sort of reminds me in terms of having a toy that you had when you were a youth, bringing it into your adulthood and continuing the collection. It sort of reminds me of like the Lionel trains, that
Sure.
that kind of genre, how it grows and it becomes something you collect as an adult as well.
And it's funny you mentioned the trains, because that runs parallel to my life too, because my father, since I was a kid, has been he does HO scale, but he's a model train guy too. So you're right. Usually when you get to the adult crowd here with Lego, it falls into two categories. There's people like myself who started getting into it when they were 4 or 5 years old and just never let go. And then you also have like the adult now who maybe when they were growing up couldn't afford it, wasn't into it, whatever. Now they've got some disposable income, and now later in life have decided, you know what, I'm finally gonna buy the toys I couldn't get when I was a kid,
Right.
and they jump into it, headlong. And that's where I think that's why I kind of want to create a channel that's for both. Like, hey, if you have been doing this since the 1980s, I got some stuff here that's going to be very nostalgia based for you. But if you're also new to the hobby, like those videos where I'm explaining some of the jargon and the brick glossary, it'll hopefully help you sort of transition into the hobby in a more interesting way. Like you can, I want it to be equal parts informative and sort of
Entertaining. Yeah. Well, it's and that's funny because you do it in a lighthearted way, which I like.
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm sorry.
I was going to say having the models on there don't hurt either.
No. And it's, again, it's practical in the sense that I want to make it very clear that this is content for adults. But also, again, if I'm going to, as one adult to another, I don't want it to seem like I'm speaking down to you or I'm patronizing you. So let's make it fun. Let's make it something that you're going to throw on in the background while you're doing whatever else. And it is kind of easy on the eyes. And again, like I said, I notice a lot of these channels that say they're, for adults, or the only thing that makes them for adults is the fact that there's an adult, hosting it or presenting it. And beyond that, it may as well be for a teenager or a little kid. So,
Right. Well, the Lego I remember basically was little bricks. I mean, that was it. But this was back before the Civil War, right, Sean?
Yeah.
But it seems like they've really gotten extensive in what the kind of products they make for the like.
It's amazing what they make now, and that's been one of the really enjoyable parts of again being involved in the hobby for 4 decades now. Is I remember, my first exposure to Lego was my mother has a younger brother who's 14 years younger than her. So growing up, he was almost more of like a cousin than an uncle. And when I would go over to my grandmother's house, they had his big box of Lego in the bedroom. And I mean, back then the minifigures were more like Amish dolls. They didn't have faces. You couldn't move their arms. It was very, very primitive. So to watch it kind of go from that to where now you can have like Darth Vader, like detailed cape, helmet, and it really has just been fascinating to watch the company grow, the quality of the product improve, and the variety. I mean, back then it was you had a police station, a fire station. I mean, now they've got licensed themes that go from Harry Potter to Star Wars to Marvel to DC. I mean, that's fascinating. How many other companies out there have a license for both Marvel and DC?
Right. And Star Wars, right?
And well, yeah, and well, Star Wars, now that that's under the Disney umbrella. So now with Lego, you've got you have Disney sets, you have Marvel, Star Wars, all under that that larger Disney umbrella. So yeah, it's fascinating.
So they're located in Switzerland or Sweden? Or?
Denmark. They're based out of Billund, Denmark.
Yeah, fair connection.
Yeah.
I said Denmark, right, Sean?
I heard Denmark.
That's what I heard.
So Steve, I'm just, if you answered this throughout just cut me off and let me know, but what makes Like like not the what makes your video adult, what makes the Lego that you're doing adult? Or that's not, or am I looking at it wrong?
No, no, no. Let's see. And in a lot of ways, I haven't even gotten there with what I really am aiming to do. Um, as far as making it for adults, I think when you're a kid versus when you're an adult, you're looking for different things. When you go to the Lego store, for instance, let's say I walk into the Lego store and a 7-year-old kid walks into the Lego store. He's probably looking at it from, oh boy, I just want the coolest set that I can take home and put together and put on my shelf and display, or maybe play with like the same way I would play with action figures and a play set. I think when you get older, a lot of what adult builders do is they work on sort of their own creations. Like me, for instance, I very rarely buy a Lego set nowadays just to buy it, build it, and display it. I have a Lego room where I'm in the process of building my own sort of giant sprawling layout. And that's what a lot of Lego fans do these days. So for me, I will look at a Lego set instead of just, is this cool? Do I want it? Do I like it? Is it neat? Versus, boy, are there pieces in there that I can use? What are the value of the minifigures that are in there? Would I be better off buying this set for $50 or going on a website like Bricklink and just spending that same $50 on the exact pieces that I need versus buying an actual set from Lego? So I just think there's a bunch of different questions. And those are the kind of the things that I want to start having conversations with other adult fans about. Things like, when it comes to Lego sets, sometimes the pieces have printed detail on them. Other times it's a sticker. Do you like stickers versus printed pieces? Some people use glue to hold their sets together. Some people think glue is the devil. So, can we have a conversation about glue versus not glue? And I think those are the kind of things that a little kid probably isn't concerning himself with at all.
Yeah.
And they're the kind of things that I think an adult fan is constantly obsessing over. There are also fans that aren't even really fans, but they look at Lego as an investment, because the prices of Lego sets, once they're retired, literally skyrocket. So I have friends that look to me almost like a stockbroker, in that they'll come to me and ask, hey, what's just something that's worth plopping down $150 on now that I know in 5 years I could sell for $600? So those are the kind of things that hopefully no child is concerning himself with, that I think adults do. And I kind of want, instead, like I said, instead of just being a site where, hey, I'm an adult and today we're going to talk about Lego set number 61999, the Batman, I want it to be a place where we come and we actually have these kind of conversations and have videos that talk about issues that I think adult fans really, because I'm not going to compete. There are like you pointed out, there are so many sites out there already where it's somebody just reviewing a set or talking about a set. I'm new to the YouTube scene. I'm not going to compete with a guy that's already got 1 million views or 1 million subscribers if I'm just going to be doing a set review. But if I can provide and produce content that nobody else is really kind of doing, whether that's with the models, whether it's with the goofy humor, whether it's talking about these sort of evergreen issues that every adult fan of Lego encounters, well, I think that's where I can really carve out a niche for myself.
Well, kudos to your video editing as you go through the videos on your channel. I was going to ask you, as you were bringing that up, about what difference, what a kid looks for or what an adult looks for in the Lego. I know, similar to like military collecting or, Lionel train collecting or train collecting, I'm sure that they have conventions or shows typically geared to Lego. I know there's a Lego theme park here in New York. So
I've been to the one in California. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, so I'm sure, do you go around the country to these shows as well, or?
I've started to. I went last summer. I think we talked before we started recording. I'm based out of Chicago currently, so I went to. The last couple of years have been crazy. A lot of shows have been canceled or shut down because
like
of
everywhere else. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, but up in Wisconsin last summer, they didn't care. So I went up to a couple of the Brick World events in Green Bay, and then another one in Milwaukee. And yeah, lots of fun, good times. I mean, they're really for adults and for kids alike. I mean, they're a great place to go. Again, I mean, if train shows are sort of the common denominator, it's a lot like that. You'll have people that come and set up their big, wonderful, gorgeous displays. And then you'll also have vendors selling new, used, loose, random, it's a great place. There are online, I'm like, I kind of hinted at this earlier. I'm to the point now where I very rarely buy an actual Lego set because I just over 35 plus years of collecting, I have so many just loose bulk Lego. The odds of me, the odds of a set having something that I don't need, unless it's a very specific figure or something that's very brand new or unique to that set. So I do a lot of my purchasing third party online, like through sites like Bricklink, where you can just order, hey, I need 100 of that piece, or I need those 4 minifigures. The shows are a lot like that too, where you can go and they might just be selling these individual minifigures or these individual pieces. And so, the shows are another great place for just picking up random stuff that you might need. And it's a great place to just sort of meet and commune with other, adult fans. So, yeah, I think the shows are great. And I really hope to visit Brick World Chicago is back on for this year. So I'm going to be there. And I hope to visit a bunch more shows in 2022.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, because you had mentioned earlier, excuse me, Sean, about exchanging ideas with other adult collectors of Lego. And I would think as your YouTube channel grows and your website, and you're also on Facebook, I'm going to show a funny picture from your Facebook page. But anyway, it enables you to interchange with the community, because I'm sure it's a community of Lego collectors.
Oh yeah, and it's a great community. I mean, even more than Facebook, Instagram has really become like, I never, again, I'm 41 years old. Until I started, I didn't know what Instagram really was until I got this Lego thing going. But it's great to go on there because because I mentioned that, like, my sort of where I'm at with the hobby right now personally is I like building my own stuff, and I'm primarily a castle builder. So it's just, even if you just want inspiration, you just go on Instagram and my goodness, you will see some of the things that these other adult fans have built from scratch from their own imaginations. And it's breathtaking. I mean, as beautiful as the next Lego set you see on the store shelves might be, what some of these guys and gals do on their own, they're called MOCs, M-O-C, my own creations. That's sort of another Lego jargon term in there. Some of the MOCs that these adult fans put together are just astonishing. I mean, there's if you're thumbing through the YouTube channel, there's one on there, something about I went to Wisconsin, something like that. It's got a girl and a beaver and a big mug of beer.
That's all.
Yeah, if you scroll down just a little bit, you got to get past all these Christmas ones.
Okay.
And like I said, there's like 48 of those. They kind of take up a big chunk of the main page. But yeah, right there, Lego events, visiting a Lego event in Green Bay.
Where am I?
Down one more row, right there.
Oh yeah.
Green Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, and like that one, if we're just gonna have something kind of playing, this will give you an idea of like a typical Lego event. This was one I traveled to last summer up in Green Bay. It was an awesome time. Brick World, they put on a series of conventions around here in the Midwest. But yeah, this gives you an idea of just like what a typical little show might be like. Maybe a dozen or so vendors, tables, but just a chance to visit some different cities that I probably would have never visited otherwise, meet some cool people, and pick up some rare Lego that you're not just going to find at the Lego store because it's retired or.
You ever been to Green Bay, Shawnee boy?
I've been to Wisconsin. What have I been? Alpine Valley in Wisconsin. I've been to a couple of concerts out there. Am I saying that right, Steve? Alpine Valley?
I don't know. This was when I went to Green Bay and Milwaukee. It was actually my first time up there, but man, I absolutely fell in love with the city of Green Bay. It's one of the nicest cities I've ever been to in my life, and very accommodating. I mean, you can see like right here, this was peak COVID last summer, and a mask in sight. So we had a good time up there.
All right, that's good. I've been in Milwaukee as well. Again, I know people in Chicago, Milwaukee, so I've been in that area. I want to ask you a question about. There must be a crazy secondary market for these sets.
Oh yeah, Yeah, in fact, it's interesting because for since the year 2000, the main sort of third party site was this place called Bricklink.com. It still exists, but the funny story about Bricklink is it was started by this kid in 2000, and he ran it until 2010 when he just, I don't know the circumstances around it, but at age 33 he passed away tragically, and it continued to roll on for the next 20 years. And basically it's just this amazing website where anybody, you, me, anybody can set up their own little Lego store, and you list all the pieces, all the figures, everything you have for sale. And then someone like me can go on there and just say, I want 20 of those, I want 10 of those, I want,
wow.
you know, and you can get very specific about it. But the strange thing is, and to their credit, I was a little nervous. I think back in 2019, the Lego group actually purchased Bricklink. So everybody was a little nervous. Okay, well, now that this beautiful third-party site that was an alternative shop to purchasing from Lego Direct was now owned by the Lego group, everybody thought, oh, great, here's the end of this beautiful platform for buying things third-party. But to the Lego group's credit, they've changed very, very little. And the experience today shopping from Bricklink is no different to what it was before Lego purchased it. So yeah, and again, for a lot of adult fans, it's the only place we really shop because we have all the bulk pieces we'll ever need. Now it's about, okay, I'm working on this project. I know I need 1,000 of these or 500 of these, and that's where you go to pick it up.
To Sean's point, or I guess some pieces are more collectible than others, harder to find.
Oh, yeah, and you know the funny thing is the sets and set values these days are really driven by the minifigures that are included, because especially with the license themes like your Star Wars and your Marvel, because like what they'll do, and I think this is unfortunate, they'll bring out a new, let's say, Marvel set, and it'll honestly, the set itself will be something very basic, a helicopter or a Jeep, something kind of generic, but it'll be the only place where you can get Wolverine, or it's the only place. Yeah, right. So then they charge you $25 for this kind of rather generic vehicle, but it's the only place to get this version of Captain America or that version of Thor. And then that's why these sets really kind of go up in value. The value of sets these days are sadly, in a lot of ways, kind of very driven by the minifigures that are included within them.
Yeah, that's, I mean, because that's the selling point. I mean, for somebody who's just like an average Lego person, like, that doesn't, like, I want Wolverine, I don't care too much about building the whole thing, that kind of concept.
And there are fans and collectors that's all they do are the minifigures. They can care less about the sets. They just want to. I need every Marvel character ever made. I need every Star Wars character ever made. Every version of C-3PO. Whatever it is. So yeah, there's a whole market just for the minifigures.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of questions for you, but I don't want to ask. So, what's the most valuable set out there, and how do I get it?
Right now, like it's funny, most valuable. That's hard to. I couldn't tell you what.
Like, could you sell a set? Like, is there like a market for $1 million Lego set, or is that too much?
$1 million, no. I mean, the most you're going to pay, I think. And again, I'm not the end all be all on this, but there are sets like it's funny, I mentioned I'm a Castle fan. If I was looking just for sort of laughs the other day at some of the Castle sets from the early 80s that I know that for a fact that my dad and I collected, for instance. Some of those sets back then were like $50, $60, which was expensive for, the mid 80s. Yeah. And if you had those still in their boxes now, they would go for around $3,000, $3,500 ish. Crazy. So yeah, I mean, there's one. Lego just did this sort of. I'm going to be doing a video about it shortly. Actually, they did this crowdfunding effort for these Castle sets that kind of pooped the bed when it came to the execution of it. So they were limited to 10. They were supposed to be limited to 5,000. They accidentally sold 10. Yada. It was a whole nightmare about this crowdfunding thing. They took 8 months to actually arrive. Long story short, I was able to get 2 of them, and they retailed for $180 before they sold out in 10 minutes online. Before they were even shipped, they were already selling on eBay for 500 a piece.
Wow.
So that can give you an idea of just how, like, when they put out something that's limited edition or this and that, it can come out that day for 180. If you're not lucky enough to grab it, to get it on the secondary market the very next day, it's not even going to be available for 8 months. These are just people who are selling you the promise that they'll ship it to you once they get it. 500, 600, up to $800 for this one set, you know, and I got 2 of them. And, you know, I pride myself on having never sold Lego. Like, to me, it's a hobby. And I always told myself, you know, the minute you start flipping it and selling it, that whole Zen, I build to relax, I love this as a hobby. The minute I turn it into a business and start selling these sets, then it's kind of not as fun. But even I, you know, I'm looking at these sets over there, I go, well, I got 2, I could build one, I could flip the other for 600, you know. So I don't know. But yeah, it's I couldn't tell you what it is. So I couldn't tell you what the most valuable one is, but there are definitely ones that I could tell you buy today for 150 bucks. And if you wait 3 or 4 years, you could triple your money on.
Gotcha. The so things that popped in my head were, what are you building now? Are you always building? Is that something you're always doing?
Yeah, kind of. I have a Lego room, you know, like it's funny. I lived in Australia for 5 years. So I have one of the most well-traveled Lego collections ever. I had shipped it all over to Australia, where I lived for 5 years, and I had to ship it all back. And for a while there in between, I had all my stuff in boxes. I had no place to put it. But finally now I'm in a place where I have a dedicated Lego room. There's actually a couple of videos on my site about, or on my channel, about us building our custom Lego table and installing it in my Lego room. Those are kind of fun.
I saw that video. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm finally in a spot where I've got my table set up. I've got kind of like my mad scientist laboratory. And I am in the process of early stages of putting together, like I said, my thing is castle. So I am building this giant sort of castle village that will be, and that's kind of where I just, you know, for a couple hours every night, I try to just decompress and disappear into that room and
Nice.
add a little bit to it here and there. Yeah.
You know, as you were talking about, you know, you don't want to be a trader. You want to stay as a collector. I have a friend of mine who's a comic book collector. And what he does, if he has dupes, it doesn't affect his love of comics. If he has dupes, he'll sell off the dupes and in an attempt to take that money and hone his own collection, what he does want to collect.
Sure.
So I don't think it takes away from his enjoyment of the comics, similar to what you're saying about this.
Yeah, but you know, there's also that piggish hoarder side of me that, like, you know, and again, because if it wasn't a castle set, I would have flipped it immediately. But you know, I'm such a castle collector, and for nearly a decade, Lego had kind of abandoned the Lego or the castle theme altogether. So I think now what they're finally realizing is that, especially amongst the adult fan base, castle is incredibly popular, and they've sort of tested the waters the last 2 years about putting out these, not just putting out new castle sets, but putting out these like big, more expensive castle sets, and they've been huge successes. So I think they're kind of realizing that their adult fan base has a thing for castle. So to your point, and I totally get it about the duplicates, but if it had been a race car or a space station, it would have been sold already. But I have such a hard time letting go of like a new castle set. I don't know. It's my own sickness.
Well, those listening to us, what we're doing is we're reviewing some of his videos as he's talking. And I was looking at, you were doing a tour of, just to explain to our audio audience, you were doing a tour of when you were in Wisconsin at a Lego show, and I was just looking at some of the stuff in there. It's really labor intensive to build.
Oh, and you know,
yeah, looks it.
And beyond just building these, I give these guys that do these conventions credit. It's one thing to build this in your home. These guys deconstruct this and haul it to another location and set it up for display. I wouldn't have the patience to take apart a giant display like that. They don't get paid to do it. They pay for those tables. God love them, because it makes the shows all that more interesting to come out and visit, because you get to see those displays. But boy, oh boy, I just personally would not have the patience to disassemble my whole setup just to take it there for some oohs and ahs.
Was she there?
I wish.
Yeah, his Steve, that that show that I guess was on TV, the Lego show, was that legit?
You know, I got to be honest. I remember I sat down to watch the first. I think I watched the first two, and it just wasn't for me. If it was just about uh, building cool stuff, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But the first two that I watched, it was all about, oh, this is the father-son team, this is the husband-wife team, and there was too much of it that was pure reality show versus what I would care about, and that's just watching actual really creative builders build cool stuff. That I kind of tuned out. I didn't really care about the contestants and the contest. I just wanted to see neat stuff. So I couldn't answer that if it was legit or not, because I tuned out after a couple episodes.
Gotcha.
You know, I did see some of the other channels that are in this genre on YouTube, but yours as opposed to theirs are so much breezier. And I have to give you, I'm jealous in your video editing skills, but you do keep a lighthearted feel to the video, which is cool. I like it.
Thank you. And I think that's something that's, I'm constantly improving. If you go back and watch, like at my first couple, they are a little more laborious to sit through, but you learn as you go.
Those are the better ones. No, but I really think you're outstanding in terms of your video editing. Yeah, I could learn a lesson or two from you.
Oh, well, thank you. And again, I enjoy doing it. And I think when you don't treat it like a job, and I think that's sometimes why there's, there might be a gap between when I put one out. I don't have a regular schedule. I'm not super consistent, but that's because, if I, like with the reselling, the minute I start to treat it like a job, or I start to treat it like, okay, you got to get something done this week, then it's going to feel forced and it's not going to be fun. But when I get really excited about an idea, when it's like, oh, that would make a cool video, I'm going to go do it. That's when I think you can tell the difference between, okay, he's having fun with this. And I think if I'm having fun with it, there's a better chance that you're going to have fun watching it.
Right. It does translate into the end product. You're right. Yeah. You can tell that you're really into it and love it. Yeah. That comes through.
And I am. And again, but I do like to strike a balance. Like I love Lego, and it's like my own. It's not like I have a music channel or another channel where I talk about this, that, or the other thing. The only thing that would ever really work me up enough to want to put the effort into doing a YouTube thing would be Lego. But again, I have other interests. So I'm not like this obsessive, that's why, like we talked again before recording, like why I use the term a-hole to identify versus a foal, which is what the majority of adult fans do. Like your average adult that's into Lego commonly refers to himself as an AFOL, AFOL, adult fan of Lego. And I guess I've always just sort of had a problem with the word fan, because when I was 17 years old, I went to go see a Prince concert, and Prince came out on stage, and the crowd was going nuts, and he said to everybody there, I'm going to call you guys my friends, not my fans, because fan is short for fanatic. And that always kind of stuck with me. And I always sort of thought, man, what, fan does have kind of if fan really is short for fanatic, I don't want to be fanatic for anything. So I like a-hole for two reasons, because of course it's got the tongue in cheek, like, oh, we can all call each other a-holes and ha ha ha, that's kind of funny and cute and whatever. But I am more comfortable identifying as an adult hobbyist of Lego versus an adult fan or fanatic of Lego. So that's why I lean into the a-hole thing more than the a-foal thing.
Well, when you start seeing the other channels using that term, you'll know you're making an impression on the rest of the genre.
Yeah, and I hope they do, and I wouldn't mind if they did, because first of all, it's nothing that I created. It existed. It was out there in the ether before I adopted it, but I felt more comfortable. And again, more than anything, I think it's more fun. Like, what would you rather call it? If we're all just buddies in this hobby together, you want to say, hey, you're another a-hole like me, or you're an a-foal.
Yeah, a-foal.
I just kind of like
a-foal doesn't have the same oomph,
Yeah, it sounds like a baby horse.
No, a-hole is way better. You a-hole.
Yeah.
What's up with the black gloves? Is that just to handle the product or?
Well, no, the funny thing is, okay, when I first had the idea of doing a channel, the original name of it was going to be Suck My Brick. And I went through I secured the URL, I set up the socials and this and that. But then I was talking with a friend of mine. I was talking with a friend of mine, and he just said, that's a little too on the nose. It's a little too, like, I know you want to be for adults, but come on, that might be pushing it a little bit. But the idea was always to wear the gloves because, look, I know how YouTube comment sections can be. I know how people can be vicious. And unless I was going to have like a manicure every other day, I didn't want the comment section to just be filled with, oh, look at his fingernail, or, oh, he's got hand tattoos, or, oh, look at his gross hands. So the idea was always to wear the black gloves, even when it was going to be called Suck My Brick.
Yeah.
And then again, I was sitting around with some pals one day, and I'm like, okay, fine. Well, if I'm not going to call it Suck My Brick, what am I going to call it? And a friend of mine finally just looked at me and goes, why don't you just call it Black Glove Bricks, dude? And like, well, that does make perfect sense. It's got a nice ring. And so, yeah, but the gloves were mainly just because I didn't want the comment section to be, I wanted you to comment on the content, not my cuticles. So
Gotcha. Are you seeing the video as we're seeing it?
yes.
Was that Metroid that was just up on the screen?
No, that was, it was one of the little things that came from one of the mini builds from the
Yeah,
Marvel.
right there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an Iron Man robot.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. A lot of those little daily builds from those advent calendars are kind of just silly little things. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's supposed to be Iron Man as a wind-up robot.
Gotcha.
So who comes out with the advent calendar? Is Lego itself?
Yeah, Lego, every year they put out, I think they put out 5 or 6 different ones. They'll do like a Star Wars, a Marvel, a Harry Potter, and then just like a Lego City, and then like a Lego Friends, which is like the Lego Friends was a theme that was, I think, originally they created to market towards young girls. Instead of the little figures, they use like little dolls, and the colors are more pink and purple. They're actually really cool. Like I find myself buying a lot of even though they're marketed towards little girls, I'll buy the sets just because they produce pieces in colors like purple and pink and lavender that you wouldn't find in other sets. So even though they're marketed towards little girls, I'm a 41-year-old man that proudly buys plenty of Lego Friends sets because you're going to get stuff that you won't find in your typical police station set.
None of the other sets. Yeah, I got to show your Facebook page because I thought it was hilarious.
Sure.
I could probably just link to it from here. Yeah, this picture here.
Yeah,
that's when I knew I was gonna like you, Steve.
Well, it's funny. That's really old, actually, even though it's the most current thing there, because like 2 years ago or whatever, before I had a single video done, before I had anything, and when I just kind of had the idea and I didn't know what to actually start doing, I just went and started just making lots of goofy little, whatever they call them, memes or illustrations or whatever, things like that. So yes, I got a whole bunch of goofy, when I don't have a video to put out, I try to put something out there to at least comment on.
Well, you do have an easy URL to remember. So anybody listening that wants to learn more, just go to blackglovebricks.com, and all of the links that we were showing on the YouTube channel, including the YouTube link, but the Instagram link is on there, Facebook, Twitter. You don't really do the Twitter much though, right?
No, the Twitter, again, I was not one of these people that was heavily into like social media and stuff like for personal use.
Mhm.
So, Facebook, Instagram were fairly simple for me to figure out. Twitter remains sort of a mystery to me. I don't really get it, understand how to use it. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it. I find it's full. Whereas like I can go on Instagram and it's full of inspiring ideas. Every time I go on Twitter, it's something negative, something, but you got to be thorough. You got to have everything up there, and you got to use them all. But yeah, Instagram is really where I think I engage most, and where I actually enjoy engaging with other people most. So
Yeah, you do have an extensive Instagram page. It's all rocket science to me too. Anything social media is it's always a challenge to me. But I'm 114 years old, Steve. So you got to give me some.
Yeah, but it's unfortunately it's kind of essential, or fortunately, because it does you are able to reach people that it's interesting. Every time I get like a request or this person started following you, it's funny that the majority, not honestly the majority, but I'm always blown away by it's somebody from like France, or there's a huge adult Lego fan base in Germany. Some of the best, most beautiful creations I see people putting together come out of Germany. So it's remarkable to me how many just different, international sort of likes and followers and things I get, and that I in turn follow through Instagram. So I just find Instagram to be incredibly positive. You don't normally see like a whole bunch of negativity on Instagram, where Twitter just seems like everybody wants to yell at each other and
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that. So
Yeah, Twitter,
I'm
Twitter can be a cesspool. But
yeah, I mean,
Sean and
I use
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, please.
No, after you. You're the guest.
Well, I was just going to say, I find each one has their function. Like I do the majority of like if I'm going to advertise or promote a video, I do most of that on Facebook. Instagram is just like organic, hanging out, good times. Let's like each other stuff. And then Twitter, I don't know. It's just sort of there so I can say that I have it. But
No, I have to agree, but social media in general does provide you to meet people you wouldn't normally meet in your own 360 every day, 360. And then what I was going to say was Sean and I did a podcast, just the two of us, talking about the Mets and the prospects of the Mets and New York Mets. Are you a Cub fan or a White Sox fan, or neither?
well, I'm not from Chicago. I've only lived here for like the last 2 years. So I'm not really, I'm originally from Cleveland, and growing up, the Indians were not very exciting. So I kind of became non-binary when it comes to sports fandom, because there was not much growing up in the 80s in Cleveland between the Browns, the Cavs, and the Indians of the 1980s. There wasn't a whole lot to get excited about.
No,
So,
I don't.
You,
I
you,
don't
you
blame
had you had the movie Major League though.
yeah, that was more exciting than going to a real
Yeah.
Indians game. So
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, on the audio portion, I can tell where people are from that listen to us.
Okay.
We get a couple of hundred downloads on the audio portion, and for some reason, the one that Sean and I did on the Mets had a bunch of downloads in the Netherlands. We still haven't figured out who the hell follows baseball in the Netherlands, but
Yeah, it's crazy. Anytime you look at your analytics, it's bizarre, like who's watching, why they're watching, where they're watching
Oh,
from.
yeah.
But hey, I don't care as long as they're watching.
yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it. But it affords you an opportunity at least to meet people you wouldn't normally meet in your everyday life. And when you have a specific genre like Lego, you get to meet like-minded people, essentially people that are into the same thing you're into.
Yeah, and the other nice thing that's worth mentioning is I have gotten we talk a lot about how I've got the girls and the things like that in the videos and the thumbnails, but I'm quite proud to say that I have a decent amount of female Lego hobbyists, enthusiasts, collectors, etc., that I've befriended online and that check out the videos too. So I don't want, even though this is sort of my style and the way I present things, the content itself, it's not just a boys club. It's not just, for dudes, it's very inclusive. So as this hobby should be. So I just wouldn't want anybody who maybe is hearing about this for the first time and is looking at it and just looking at it at a glance and saying, oh, this guy's one way or another. I think the content is suited to everyone. Yes, maybe I'm trying to grab a certain set of eyeballs on the surface with certain things, but hey, everybody is welcome. And I think that's the beauty of playing with Lego is, everybody's awesome.
Yeah, it looks like it's a fun hobby. It's a lot of talented people, especially when we were watching the video of the show in Wisconsin. There's a lot of people. That's a lot of talent to get those things done.
And that's one show in one city over one weekend. It's really, I mean, it is a rabbit hole that's, even if you're not a huge Lego enthusiast, I mean, we all go down rabbit holes about things that we're probably not going to care about the next day some nights, right? And if you're ever just bored on the internet one night and it's like, hey, I just need to be entertained for the next 10 to 12 hours, man, check out some adult Lego builds on Instagram or whatever. You'll be blown away by the things that some people, like I consider myself a half decent builder or mocker when it comes to things like that. And then I'll see what some other folks are putting together, and it is humbling, inspiring. It's tremendous.
Yeah. Well, some of your videos, and I know Sean is getting into this, I can tell by his expression.
Good.
He's going to
It's
look to see,
contagious.
he's going to look to see if Suck My Brick is still available.
Yeah.
I still own it. It's in
Yeah.
fact, it's funny. I went on GoDaddy to renew some other sites a few nights ago, and they give you the little like, oh, you could make. And it's like you could make up to $1,500 selling Suck My Brick. I'm like, I'm gonna hold on to it for a little bit longer. Who knows? I might use it for something else down the road.
That's funny. So Sean, do you have any other questions, Shawnee boy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just it's been interesting. It's been nice to like listen. I don't know. I didn't know much about Lego just in general. I knew obviously it was a huge subculture. That I
Yeah,
know.
sorry. I feel like I did all the talking. I feel bad.
No,
I'm
no,
kind of a
it's-
motor mouth.
That's all right, but
You're supposed to do most of the talking.
All right,
you know,
good.
it's amazing because besides Lego, like you name it, there's a subculture for everything, and there's just this whole world where there's so many people that are just like enthusiasts about whatever they're into, and it's a thing, and it's awesome. Like you can find it anywhere.
And that's the only other thing I'd like to end on then, if we're wrapping things up, is that's the one beauty I think of Lego predominantly. Every hobby has got its bad apples, but so many fandoms have turned toxic in the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, try having a civilized conversation about Star Wars or Marvel versus DC or anything like that. It always turns into some kind of argument or fight or gets hateful. You will find that so rarely in the Lego community. Like there's no animosity, there's no anger, there's no this side versus this side. It really is. I mean, if you are just somebody who's looking for a hobby, like something, especially, hopefully, it's the worst of it is behind us now, but especially during pandemic, there were so many people, adults that got into it as for the first time because it was something they could order, have delivered. They didn't have to leave their house. We really saw an influx of adult fans during the pandemic. And the wonderful thing is you can go on just about 99% of any kind of Lego website, Lego Instagram, whatever. There's no infighting, there's no insulting, there's no, oh, your build looks like garbage. Everybody's very supportive and encouraging. And that's why I wanted to just say, even though I do things in a certain way or have a certain style that may be looked at as a little edgy or whatever, it doesn't make me, I'm not some big bad wolf. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like there's room for everybody. And I would encourage you, even if you've ever just been curious, go to Walmart, go to Target, buy yourself a $15 set, bring it home, try it out, see if you like it. I guarantee that, I don't guarantee, but there's a very good chance that you will find yourself, if not hooked, at least somebody who's gonna be like, you know what, maybe every once in a while I'll pick up another one of these. And it's just a happy place. It's a good place for people. And I do really respect and appreciate about the Lego group is they really do, whether you're a child, teenager, or an adult, they really do breed sort of a creative space where there's really no room for any of that nonsense that you find in a lot of other fan communities.
Yeah, well, that's the two things I learned from this podcast is number one, I didn't realize how wide the breadth was of inputting your own creativity into your work. It's an artistical outlet, and your personal love for it is reflects well on both Lego and yourself. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Your willingness to share it with others is an effect of that. So, and we certainly do appreciate you coming on. And just one more time, the easiest way I can think of to for our listeners to just visit you and learn more about what you do is blackglovebricks.com, but they're also available on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. And they also have a little blog from their website that you might want to find. A lot of those are links right to their videos. But I think you'll find, even if you're not a Lego fan or you want to get into Lego, you have a curiosity about it, this is a great place to start because he has a nice, breezy way of approaching the Lego product. So we certainly appreciate your time tonight.
Oh, thank you. And yes, everybody subscribe on YouTube because that's the big one. That's where, we can eventually, hopefully someday monetize this bad boy and just keep it going. So yes, subscribe on YouTube if you have the time. I'd really appreciate it.
Well, if you are watching us on YouTube, the link is right below the video you're watching, the link to his channel. So we appreciate that. So,
Beautiful.
Shawnee
I
boy,
really appreciate you guys.
no, it was our pleasure. Shawnee boy,
Yeah, it was good. It was just good to listen. You know, I learned something today, so I appreciate that, Steve. Thank you.
yeah, that's why.
Well, thank you guys.
That's why we do this podcast, to learn things that interest us. So we appreciate the info, and we look forward to, we subscribe, and we hope other of our listeners subscribe, and we're looking forward to watching you grow.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Same here, fellas.
Okay, have a great night, sir.
All right. Take care.
Bye.